What's up, kinfolk? Welcome back to the #1 ranked show. I am your host, RJ Young. Thank you for watching on YouTube or the Fox Sports app or listening wherever you consume your podcast. Today, we have two interviews on deck for you. The first one is with former Iowa State running back and unanimous All-American, Breece Hall. I speak with Breece about just how he ended up at Iowa State, knowing that his stepfather was a tailback at Nebraska, and he's kind of rooting for Nebraska growing up until Matt Campbell makes him the kind of offer that he cannot refuse. He shows up to Iowa State and he shows out. He was one of my winners in the NFL draft combine, and he could be the first running back taken off the board, perhaps even a first round draft pick. The next interview on deck is with Notre Dame running back Kyron Williams, who decided to come out early after an outstanding 2020 and 2021 season. You'll remember he helped lead the Notre Dame Fighting Irish to the college football playoff in 2020 with a breakout season and was a real engine for that team, not just in that 2020 season, but also in 2021. We know about the huge win against a top-ranked Clemson in South Bend that really put him on the map for a lot of folks that didn't know already. But obviously, you are a diehard college football fan, and you know plenty about Kyren. But I want to talk with him a little bit about how he ended up at Notre Dame, what it was like being that dude as a high school football player, and what he expects from the NFL after a not so great NFL draft combine. But I think he could be an outstanding tailback in the league. All right, let's go talk to Breece and then Kyren. I'm joined now by former Iowa State tailback and NFL draft hopeful Breece Hall. Breece, how you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm good, sir. I want to start with this. You were one of my winners in the NFL scouting combine, and I believe you're going to go into the draft for me as RB1. And for the folks that don't know, Breece ran sub 4.4, 4.39, fastest among tailbacks, vertical leaped 40 inches, and really was one of the better tailbacks of the last 2 years, not just last year. I need to start with just what does it mean for you to know that you're not just a consensus All-American, but the first unanimous All-American in Iowa State football history?
It was just a testament to what me and my team were able to do. Without them, I wouldn't have been able to do it. So it was, as much as it was an individual award, it was for them too. So it meant a lot to see it, but that was just one achievement. That wasn't the ultimate goal. So I knew I had a lot more to go.
You had an outstanding 2020. Obviously, you were pretty good up until that point, but then broke out in a meaningful way, getting into the Big 12 championship, helping Iowa State win its first major bowl in school history. But going into the Big 12 championship, I made a point of calling Northwest coach Steve Martin to ask about you and ask about your come up. And he was telling me one of the things that you changed about yourself is just how you were working in the weight room to draw the eyes of some guys that perhaps would not have recruited you otherwise, even after 2,000-yard rushing seasons. What turned up for you in the weight room?
Really, just because I wasn't really a weight room guy. I just like to be out on the field, just doing all the skill work and that type of stuff. But for me, it was just seeing that guys were getting bigger, stronger, and faster, and it was saying that they were starting to get that physical edge on me. And I was like, well, I know if I do this, then I can be just as good, if not better, than all these other guys. So I really just started to attack the weight room, and my body responded to it well, I guess. I gained like 20 pounds straight muscle and just got bigger. My body started to transform, and it worked out for the best.
Yeah, I would say so, dog. I mean, we're talking about 1,400 yards rushing, 1,500 yards rushing, back-to-back seasons at Iowa State. And of course, that All-American status I mentioned earlier, but I was just thinking about this. We're in NCAA wrestling time, NCAA tournament time, and Iowa State has a pretty doggone good history when it comes to wrestling, and it's All-American. So I got to ask, as an All-American, you think you could wrestle at Iowa State?
Nah. Some of the dudes we have are different, so I wouldn't even put myself up against that.
Nah, look, I find it fascinating to ask because you also come from Kansas, which is a tremendously good wrestling state, but you also have, some outstanding men who play football in your family. Cousin is Roger Craig, one of the great NFL running backs. And I wonder, have you reached out to him at any time during your journey about what lays ahead for you in the NFL?
Yeah, he's always there for me to just to give me advice whenever I hit him up and ask him any questions, ask him, what's everything going to be like, how he went about stuff. He's always quick to get back to me. He texts me after games, and just the way he supports me is second to none.
Hey, I'm just going to go ahead and throw out there that you outgained your cousin Craig in your last 2 seasons, his best season at Nebraska, just over 1,000 yards rushing. I wonder, does that ever come up when you talk?
Nah, because I still got a long way to go to reach his height, so it's nothing. Nah, it don't come up at all.
Nah, man, I expect nothing less from you. Just a class act. Now, I also want to mention your stepfather, Jeff Smith, played running back at, Nebraska, which we'll talk about, but also at the Chiefs and the Bucks. How does a dude with Roger Craig in the family, stepfather played in Nebraska, end up going to Iowa State?
I ask myself that every day. So, just being recruited, going to those schools in Nebraskas, the Michigans, Oklahomas, it was hard to say no. But I went up to Nebraska and they had my stepdad's Orange Bowl team up there. All his old teammates were up there. Just seeing that, sitting down with Coach Osborne and eating dinner with him and his family, that was real cool. And going to Oklahoma and meeting Baker Mayfield and Hollywood Brown and being around all those guys and going to the Tennessees, the Ole Misses, the Wisconsins, just getting out to all those campuses. It was real cool and everything. But for Iowa State, they were my first offer. They were the ones who took a chance on me. They stayed consistent. They stayed loyal. And the icing on the cake was that Campbell said if I came to Iowa State, he was going to make me the best running back in the country, and he did that. So, everything worked out for the best.
It's one thing for a coach to tell you that during recruitment. When did you know you were going to be able to actually tote the rock for Iowa State running football team at any point in your career?
It was probably in fall camp, from my freshman year of fall camp. I really started to come into my own. Was starting to get confident and comfortable with the offense, and a lot of the older guys that they were kind of pushing me around and smacking me up and stuff when I first got there, I was starting to lay those hits back on them. So then I realized I was like, all right, I can do this now. And, midway through the season, I became a starting running back and just took over from there.
One of the things that I have noticed about you, and I think many people would know, is you wear that number 28 jersey. I asked you once before, but I want to hear the story again. Why do you wear number 28?
It was real interesting. Because in high school, I wore number 1. So I wanted number 1, but one of our upperclassmen receivers, he had it. So I was kind of like searching. I'm like, all right, what number am I going to get? And then it was like, oh, my stepdad wore number 28. So it was like, oh, that would be cool. And then, me and Campbell had a phone call, and he was just asking me, he was like, do you want to wear it? And I was like, yeah. But at the time, I didn't know the stigma, what it was going to be, because Troy Davis wore it. So I was like, once people found that out, it was like a whole big deal and everything. So I kind of just had to stay away from that and, just really just focus on myself and just focus on football.
Well, you ended up doing more than earning that number, dog. That's one of the reasons I love this story so much is prior to you becoming a unanimous All-American, perhaps the best tailback to come out of Iowa State is Troy Davis, 2,000-yard rushing seasons, 95 and 96. I actually got to speak with his running backs coach at the time, is a man named Kirby Wilson, who is the USFL's Pittsburgh Maulers head coach. Talked with him day 2 of the draft. And I said, hey, tell me about coaching Troy Davis. He says, hey, look, he was great. And I understand they had another nice little tailback come through there. And we got to talk about you and what you've been able to accomplish at Iowa State. I wonder what it means for you to know that the old heads are paying attention to you and it doesn't faze them to put you in the same, stratosphere as Troy Davis.
It means the world just to know that those guys respect my game and that they're rooting for me, just to have guys hit me up and, congratulating me and come support me at the games and everything like that. It means a lot. And it gives you confidence, obviously, it makes you happy just to know that you have respect from older guys, from those OGs. So, that stuff meant the world to me while I was at Iowa State.
I wonder, talking about the NFL draft, and you will be selected, did you have a favorite team in the NFL?
No, I just had players growing up. I only like players.
Tell me, who are they?
NFL, I wasn't even big into running back so much. I was big into like receivers like Reggie Wayne and it's Terrell Owens, Randy Moss, then they got into the new school guys like Odell. I like Tyler Lockett. I liked a lot of guys. And then now once I started getting into running backs, it was more in the high school. So I was watching Christian McCaffrey and Ezekiel Elliott and Saquon and Carlos Hyde and some of those guys. But I was never really big on teams. It was just certain players I like to watch.
The reason I ask, right, is not just because of your stepfather and him running with Mike Rozier, Roger Craig, but because when I think about Wichita, Kansas, prior to what you had done at Iowa State, I always thought about Barry Sanders. I always thought about perhaps the greatest tailback of all time. Right. I understand if you don't want to go there, but I wonder, what does it mean to you to know you are the best tailback to come out of Wichita since Barry Sanders?
It means a lot, just to even be mentioned with his name, it's second to none because he's one of the greatest backs, if not the greatest back to ever play. So just once I started hearing those comparisons, it's like I'm like, dang, I'm actually like that good, But for me, just growing up, it went from me looking up to guys like him, and then to have those young guys looking up to me, and for me to give them game and still go back to Wichita and go to those youth football practices and go to high school football practices and stuff, and just to talk to those guys and be around those guys, it lets them know that they can do it, they can get out of Wichita. So it means a lot.
So I've mentioned Barry Sanders. We've spoken a bit about Troy Davis, a Heisman finalist and a Heisman winner.
Right.
But you have managed to stay grounded through all of this. I wonder who in your family is most responsible for you being this level-headed about just what you've been able to accomplish at Iowa State and what you hope to accomplish in the NFL?
My mom and my stepdad and my older sister, just then they always kept me level-headed, kept me grounded, just taught me to be humble. And for me, I felt like it was also just because that's how my personality has always been since I was young. I was real laid back and real chilled out, and I never really liked to do too much. I never got super excited or anything like that. I've always just been one of those chill guys. So that stems from when I was just a young kid.
A chill dude usually has pretty good vision back there, and running the kind of offense y'all do where you pick your spots, I could see that coming through. My last question for you is one that is personal to me, right? Just this is for my own edification. If I were to try to ask another person who wants to play running back at the level you played, what advice would I give that person from you?
For me, it was always about doing more than what other people were willing to do. That's how I earned my keep here. That's how I did it in high school. Just always staying consistent. Whenever you don't want to do it and then you go do it, that's when you get the best results. And at the end of the day, if you're doing more than what other people are willing to do, then those results are going to be better for you because you put in more work, you put in more effort, and you put in more time. So that's the biggest thing I'll say, and also just to stay humble and stay faithful, because there's been plenty of times where I could have got a big head and I could have been saying this, that, and the third. But for me, I just always stay true to myself and stay true to, my values and everything like that. So those are definitely the things I would say to a young kid or a high schooler trying to get to the point where I am.
It does not shock me in the least that a player coached by Matt Campbell who went to Mount Union needs to outwork people, even as he is a unanimous All-American. Breece Hall, thank you so much for the time and good luck in the upcoming NFL draft.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
I am thrilled to be joined by NFL draft hopeful and former All-American at Notre Dame, a tailback that I know, Kyron Williams. How are you doing, sir?
Good. I'm glad to be here on the show with you guys, and ready to answer any questions and get to it.
Right on, bro. So I want to take it all the way back to high school right quick. And I'm going to give you some stats that you know about, but probably the people don't know about. So bear with me on this. You went for 354 total yards, including 289 on the ground in the Missouri 5A state championship game. And that's after a 2,000-yard rushing season, 700 yards receiving in that senior season. Hey, man, at what point at St. John's did you realize that you the dude wearing the cape, that you Batman?
Yeah, it wasn't early on. I kind of wish it was, but that's not how it worked out for me. It was wasn't until like my sophomore, kind of junior year that I knew that I was, that person that you say, like the person that would wear the cape or that's made the plays and which is the leader on the team, so to speak. So that's kind of where it came to me later on. But like once I kind of knew who I was and what I was able to do on the football field and lead my peers, it's kind of easy transition for me because it wasn't no big step. I didn't take no big step or anything. I just stayed the same person who I was each and every day, and I kind of that kind of contributes to my success that I have today. It's just being the same person each and every day, and that started, like you said, before high school and even during high school when I started to do those big things.
When did you start getting looks for schools like Notre Dame, big Power 5 programs that compete for championships each and every year?
Yeah, so it was after my sophomore year, we had won the state championship my sophomore year. We were hot as a program, hot as a team, and as an individual, I started picking up my my production on and off on the field. Just being able to play running back, receiver, and play the defense as well. Like I never came off the field, so that's kind of when that production started coming, and those looks and those coaches started to come in the weight room to see me work out, and then eventually those offers came as well. So I would say like my late sophomore year, early junior year, that's when it really started, running off for me.
When did you start to settle on Notre Dame as being the place where you knew that, one, you could play football, but also you could go there and get a pretty darn good education?
Yeah. And that's why, like, kind of my decision to go to Notre Dame was Notre Dame, because if you talk about that educational aspect of it, is like you couldn't beat it. It was the best of both worlds coming to Notre Dame. And it wasn't really so I wanted to commit my senior year before the season, so I would have that off my shoulders and just have to worry about just playing ball and not have to worry about taking any more visits or anything like that. So I would say it was down to Michigan, Notre Dame, and Mizzou, and for those reasons that I said earlier, educational and just just being part of a program like Notre Dame, they're so worldwide. It was just a no-brainer for me, just to join the program and to excel on and off the field.
You enroll early, right? January 2019.
Yeah.
But one of the things that really piqued my interest when you were really getting into your own in 2020 is Brian Kelly once said you were one of the most versatile players that he's had the privilege of coaching. And the way that he put that in perspective to us is by saying he had to choose between whether or not you be playing slot receiver or running back. Now, my question to you is, what did you think when he first gave you that?
Yeah, I was kind of shocked, because obviously I came in being a running back, and that's what my aspirations and my dreams were, at Notre Dame, was playing running back. But, the plan is not always as smooth as you think it is going to be, or as you think, as you imagine it. So there was spectacle talk as if I couldn't do the running back, then I'd be just as good as in the slot. So I knew me as a person, as a player, that I could do both. It didn't really matter to me. I just know the wide receivers do a whole lot more running in practice than running backs do. So that's really like my main complaint would be that, but that's not even a complaint because it's just work at the end of the day. But they kind of said that, and I kind of in a way I kind of took offense to it because like I told you, like I said, I know what type of player and I can do both. So why not be able to play both? So I showed myself as running back. Well enough, good enough in practice and in games to where I'm set running back, but can also play slot receiver and everything. So that's where that versatility that Coach Kelly he talks about and brings up. Same with Coach Breece as well.
2020 goes well for you, and we will talk a little bit more about that. But I want to get to 2021 in one way. You were named a team captain. First, how did that feel? And then second, how do you decide team captains at Notre Dame?
Yeah, so I'll tell you because it's easier. I'm going to tell you how the teammates choose it. We all go into a meeting room. There's a list of everybody else on the team, and just everybody on the team chooses who the players are, chooses who the captains are, and then once that is chosen, the coaches weigh in on the decision, and then the athletic director and his staff also weigh in on the decision. So it kind of goes in like a 3-rank kind of thing. So once it goes through all that, that's when you finally name captain. And I had the privilege and, of just being able to be a captain of Notre Dame because, like you said, like my freshman year, 2019, I was redshirted. I didn't really play. I didn't play at all my freshman. I played the 4 games and then I was done. Just so being in that position of being like on the back burner, on the bench, and like, dang, like where do I go next? You feel me? Like what's gonna happen next? What can I do to get to where I want to be? Because I knew like I said, I knew what type of player I was. I still know what type of player I am. So like I didn't belong right there. I knew that wasn't my spot. So it was on to me holding myself accountable to go put that work in to get to where I wanted to be. So when I was named captain, it was a shock. You know, it was a blessing, but I knew I deserved it from the day I walked on campus. Because like I said, I knew the type of player I was. I knew when I got my chance what I would do and what I could bring to the team, and being that leader. So like I said, it was a blessing, but like it's kind of like a thing that I knew I deserved because of the work I put in to get to where I was at then.
No, man, that is such a big deal. I mean, it's one thing for you to get the opportunity to play tailback and start at Notre Dame. It's quite another for you to know that you achieve team captain, because that speaks so highly of not just your team, but obviously of the administration and what they think of you. But this is also coming on the heels of a pretty outstanding 2020. You were ACC Rookie of the Year on a playoff team. That year, you scored more TDs than any other tailback since Autry Denson, which I think is 1998. My goodness. And you had some outstanding games. I wonder which game did it come together for you where you started to achieve that level that you had sought for yourself as a freshman?
Yeah. I would say the Duke game was a good start for me. I was hot in training camp. I was hot in fall camp. I was making plays in fall camp. And I just wanted to be able to translate that into the field. Like I wanted to see if I could really do it, you feel me? Like I can go out there and do what I say I can do. And it's that first Duke game where it was just like, it's just football. Like ain't nothing really different from, high school, the practice, the games. Like at the end of the day, it's just football. And that's how I was seeing it. And that's how I was able to feel, coming off that first game, getting that first game off your shoulders, the first start ever, just being a college player that you always wanted to be and be in that position. I just wanted to know if I was ready for it. And then when I went out there and did what I did best, I just proved a whole lot of stuff, whole lot of confidence, stuff into me. I instilled that into me and not into anybody else. But, I just really proved to myself that I could do this. And after that first game, it was just stacking after that. It was just stacking, doing what, just trying to double what I did. Because I remember telling myself, after that Duke game, I wanted to make sure that it wasn't a fluke, because everybody was saying oh, okay, beginner luck, all of this stuff. So I was like, I wanted to prove to everybody, I already knew it wasn't a fluke, but prove to everybody else that this is no gimmick. Like this is who I am. This is what I do, and this is why I play football and why I love it and why I'm so successful. And I've been so successful at it. So it was after that first game, and then going into the season like Clemson, those big games like that, UNC, those were just the games. You just added confidence, added, those boosts to who I am as a player.
Well, hey, man, it wasn't no fluke. Like, I was watching it every step of the way. I'd also point out you went for 185 on 19, not 23, against Florida State. And then, of course, there's that big game against Clemson in South Bend. I was calling national radio that night when it goes into double overtime, so I'm very much locked in. I wonder, how did it feel for you to have such a role in rolling up Clemson on your way to a college football playoff appearance?
It's like a dream come true. Like, you have these, imagine those high school games of, Wayne State did that. And then you go to the next league, the next big level, which is college football, and to play the number one team in the nation under the lights at home. Like, there's nothing better you could ask for that. So I know as a team and as an individual, as myself, like we were so locked in on a different level that like you could have told us we were going to win the game. We would have told you, but like, it wouldn't have been like, you feel me? It wouldn't have been like no hesitant. Like we would have was 100% confident in what we did. And we knew that we had a game plan to stick to, because after that first big run, the only thing that can go in my mind is they're going to punch right back. They're coming right back to get us. Like they're trying to do the same thing that we just did to them. So we got to stay on 10, like stay on tip, because we don't know what could change. The momentum of the game, that game was so up and down. Like there was so many turnovers, so many, big plays, and there was so much happening in that game where you had to stay, even keel. And that's when I found like most about me in that game is like being able to fight through the trenches. Like they were calling me in 3rd and 1. I'm trying to go run somebody over, go get a first down, go get a touchdown. Like at that point, it didn't matter. Nothing else mattered besides getting that the first down or the touchdown. And so that's what was, so exciting to me, because like you had to enter to another mental capacity space that, to even be able to step foot on that field during that game. So it proved to us as a team, and like I said, as an individual, like we can tap into a whole nother level and, you know, just play with anybody in the world.
Oh, man. And I saw that, right? And that was
Yeah.
one of the coolest parts of that experience for me in 2020, which is wild for everybody, as you very well know. You named All-American by the Sporting News in 2021. You became the first Irish tailback since Darius Walker to post back-to-back 1,000-yard rushing seasons. All that to say, following your junior year, you decide you want to enter the NFL draft. How did you come to that decision?
It was a hard decision to come to, really. Like, you know, just being able, like, knowing that you still have more left in college football and not taking it. It was kind of like the person I am. It was kind of hard to do that because, you know, I want to make the most of everything. I want to prove, no matter who thinks anything, I want to prove them wrong. So, like, if that's in college football, that's, you know, at this level now, like, I'm all for it. So at that time, it was just like, can he really do it? Can he really go? Can he be in the NFL? Can he do that? So when it came down to my decision and what I had to do, I had to think what's best for me, my family, and what's supposed to be, like, what's next. You feel me? Like, so as you said, like, after that 2,000-yard back season, I'm only a junior. I'm 21 years old. I have no major injuries. It's like, go get what's next for you. Like, what's left in college football? Like, you did a lot of it. You did the most of it. You're hot, right? You're already hot coming off the back-to-back seasons, you know, just keeping the less amount of reps in my body and being able to go live out the dream that I've always dreamt about and being in the NFL. Like, it was a no-brainer for me in a way because, like, at the end of the day, I had to do what's best for me. And at the end of the day, I felt as if this was best for me, and I still do. Like, I love them boys 100% of Notre Dame, but I just, you know, like I said, it comes down to doing what was best for me at the end of the day.
Well, I got to say, man, you decided to make this decision when it feels like Notre Dame going to be pretty good in 2022. And I say that to say, when Coach Freeman was named the guy to succeed Brian Kelly as a head coach at Notre Dame, I know personally I was over the moon. I had been a big fan of Coach Freeman going back to his days at Cincinnati. What do the Fighting Irish have in Coach Freeman at Notre Dame?
I think they got a coach that cares for him and loves for him at the end of the day, not just football, but just as, you know, people. Like, I think that's the biggest thing about what misconceptions about college football. I'm not sure about the NFL yet because I'm not there, but at the end of the day, we're still, like, athletes or not. We're at the end of the day, we're still people. Like, we're still human beings that do the same thing that, you know, that the regular students do at college. So I feel like it's good to have a coach that can relate to you and, you know, be there for you whenever it's time to, you know, that has to do with football, you know, just be there for you when it's time that you need help or you need someone to talk to, you know. I feel like Coach Freeman, he does that well. Like, he doesn't address, as when I was there, he didn't address himself as like a head man or a head figure or whatever. He was, you know, he had a relationship with every player. And so it wasn't uncomfortable to go up to him and, you know, ask him a question or, you know, ask if he could, you know, look over this drill that we did. And so that, you know, to see what, you know, what we did wrong or whatever. So it's not weird doing that with Coach Freeman. So that's what I feel like he brings to Notre Dame is just these players that are comfortable with him. They're not afraid to go talk to him or ask him questions and stuff like that. So I think he's going in the right direction for Notre Dame, and I'm excited to see what they got in store.
Right on. There's a lot going on there. Of course, offensive coordinator Tommy Rees retained, and of course, Drew Pine and Tyler Buckner are going to be fighting for that starting quarterback job.
Yeah.
But one of those dudes is going to have to take snaps from behind center when Notre Dame opens up against Freeman's alma mater, Ohio State. So I'm going to ask you this way. What should Ohio State fans be worried about with Notre Dame coming into the shoe?
The Notre Dame football team as a whole. Like, just be worried about what them boys got in store, because I know it's a different type of mindset that they're going through right now. It's more of a competitive mindset that they're going to go to war, go to fight, no matter what it is. So I feel like no matter who the quarterback is, no matter who the running back is, no matter who anybody is on that field, like, every single player is going to be fitted to go. Like, there's not going to be any ifs, ands, or buts about it. Like, them boys are going to go to play, and, like, at the end of the day, you're going to see what the results are. But I just know the way that Coach Freeman and I just know them boys there at Notre Dame. It's just like there is no quitting them. They don't matter who they play. They play Ohio State the first game, like, they're going to see them like the faceless opponent they see the next week. So I know they're going to give them their all, and, you know, just go out there and be the best that they can be.
Right on. That is Kyron Williams, a former All-American tailback at Notre Dame. And I wish you the best of luck April 28th when the NFL draft begins. Thank you so much, Kyron.
Appreciate you.